What is up, my fellow Chibits? Today, I'm here to bring all of you another weekly chapter review on Tokyo Ghoul Chapter 74. Now, before I even dive into the content of Tokyo Ghoul, I'm just gonna say, I know you probably already noticed, and just to get it out of the way, because you guys are gonna be asking, yes, I got a haircut, so there you go. I just clarified for you. Now, this chapter of Tokyo Ghoul. Where to begin? Well, you know the style of how I do TG. I go panel by panel, but I gotta briefly just say my thoughts, okay? The final part of this chapter, when Furuta appears, I was joking, Ishida. I was fucking joking. I was fucking joking when I said Furuta was going to appear and when he was going to grind up everybody. I was fucking joking. But apparently, Ishida didn't take it that way. Oh my goodness, what I just witnessed in this chapter. And that's not even the full body kakuja that Kaneki's currently getting and other stuff. So, yeah. Anyways, let's start off, okay? There's a lot of symbolism, especially when it pertains to numbers in this chapter. There's 3 different interpretations of the number 645, which I want to cover when I get to the point in this chapter. 2 points I was reading up on, and then 1 point was given to me on Twitter by a fellow Chibi, and apparently someone on Tumblr made this post. I'll show on the screen when I get there, I'll have the picture up. But pretty much, there's 3 different interpretations of the number 645. And I want to showcase them, I want to explain the different points of them, and then, yeah, well, tell me if you have any other, interpretations of the number 645. Now, anyways, let's just dive into this first page. First page is probably something that actually instantly correlates with actually the number 645, which I'm not going to say it here because I'm going to wait until I get to that point of the chapter, but this entire scene does relate to a Fury, so there you go on that. But this, the way I interpret it, like another way, a simpler way to interpret this first page, is you see a butterfly flying throughout the sky, freely. Okay, let's just say this butterfly is a bird. Best example. This butterfly is a bird, it's flying freely throughout the entire sky, and then all of a sudden someone grabs it and cages it up. What Arima is doing right here. And that's kind of how the world works currently with V. As you know, V is the birdcage. You're locking in the world, and right now you have to where Ogiri Tree's trying to break that birdcage and get out. And V is the people holding the birdcage in place. And Arima, as we know, he's a part of V. And so in a way I interpret this as how, Arima grabbing the flying animal, or bug technically in this sense, he's grabbing it, trapping it in a birdcage. Now, looking at it another way, you can interpret it as if Arima grabbing this bug and crushing it was in fact a way of how he views ghouls. He views all ghouls as insects, as bugs. He doesn't view them as, actual people or anything like that. Even though he knows the truth of ghouls, he actually views ghouls as like bugs, something of a lower essence or being than him. And that's exactly the way you can interpret this as well when it comes to him grabbing the butterfly. He looks at ghouls as bugs. Because majority of the chapter is actually spent on the mindset of Arima. What makes him tick? What is going on in that brain of his? And what is his motive? Why does he do the things he does? Can you really describe him? I mean, everybody tries to give their thoughts on Arima, but overall they don't know really what he thinks or how he thinks. And you get to even see the viewpoint of different people throughout this chapter, which I'm going to cover in a minute. So, someone mysterious is behind Arima. I want to take note of that. There's someone behind Arima in this first page. Now, I don't know exactly who this person is. If you do, Chibits, please let me know in the comments below. But it's definitely someone rather important for this flashback, and Ishida's hiding this person. This person has long hair, but my assumption of whoever this is, since Arima, currently in this timeline, he doesn't have white hair. This is a long time ago, and it's been implied that Arima was a part of the Sunlit Garden. I want to assume that he's probably connected to one of the washus. And I'm looking at a washu right here on the screen. I'll most likely not put a picture in, it depends. But the name of this washu is Sune Yoshi Washu. I've talked about him in the past with Matsuri and all that. And his hairstyle, the way the color is and all that, and the way it's styled, it looks like it could possibly be him. I mean, it fits the description if you look at it. I mean, look at the picture. You see like a blackish looking suit on. That's what you see right here with Tsunayoshi Washu. And then you see like the longish hair. And there you go right here. So there's a possibility this person could be a Washu behind Arima. There you go. Now, moving on to the next page. We go back to the fight between Kaneki versus Arima. In this fight, so many emotions just boiling. It's like a boiling pot of emotions throughout this entire chapter, because there's a lot of things confirmed in this chapter, especially when it came to Arima. And we get to see a little bit more of his mindset of how he thinks or how he works. And I like that. I like how Ishida's kind of diving into this a little bit. So, the kind of present time, you know, the present timeline right now where Kaneki's currently fighting Arima, you see Kaneki looking at the back of Arima. And let's just take a moment to just grasp what this scenery looks like, okay? You see these black flowers all underneath him, like darkness, death, pretty much. And Kaneki is just looking at someone straight ahead. His legs have been completely removed. He can no longer walk. And he's just looking up, and he realizes, like, what he sees. It's like death, pretty much. And he realizes, my legs are gone. He can't even defend himself now because, you know, he can't move. And all of a sudden, he turns around. Arima does. He's like, what will you do? And Arima's asking a question. And this instantly correlates with what was said in the last chapter. Arima doesn't really talk with ghouls or anything. Or, like, stop messing around, pretty much. Which I know there's some translation errors with the last chapter. But I'm just going to use that dialogue. For instance, Arima says, like, stop messing around. And here you go. He's talking once again. He's like, what will you do? He's just pretty much talking to him. Like, what are you doing? Like, what will you do from this point now that your legs are cut? And Kaneki, you could tell he's in a moment of desperation. I mean, he's sweating, and we know what type of personality he has right now, or his mindset. He wants to die in style. And I've talked about this in my snake symbolism video, which I'll probably link in the description for you can see it for yourself, because I won't cover the entire topic of that, because I've already covered that quite well, I think, in that video. But the main point is maybe, you know, Kaneki at this time, since he's in the mindset of trying to pretty much die in style, maybe him shedding his skin will allow him to change his mindset, his mentality, and go on living. Because this chapter does support that. It really does support that of Kaneki changing for the better, and Arima's actually teaching him, in a way, to go down the better path. And I like that. I really like that. It goes to show you that Arima might not be as bad of a guy as we assumed since the very beginning. So we get, like, brief flashbacks, or kind of images of what most likely is going to happen if Kaneki dies right here. And this goes along with what Kaneki technically wants to do. He wants to die, but then he sees what might happen soon as he dies. And this is what he sees. He's like, Arima doesn't see me. Pretty much what this means is, Arima is not looking at Kaneki. He doesn't even care about fighting Kaneki, or Heise, Sasuke, whatever name you want to attach to him. Arima does not care about fighting right now. He has no care in the world of fighting Kaneki or Heise. He just is looking at the bigger picture. He's like, I'm going to take down your friends. I want to kill all of them, like I said in the past. I killed them all. Arima's about to make a division. He's about to kill every single one of them and make it real this time. And that's why Kaneki says Arima doesn't see me, because he's not looking at him. He doesn't look at him as even a threat. He's like a bug on the side of the wall or the floor. And that's the first page. There you go. Kaneki could be represented as the bug as well. Now, Arima asked the question, will you die again? This right here has so many interpretations you can take it. As we know, Kaneki dying, he technically did die. He died and was reborn into a new personality, Heise Sasuke, the dream, and then he gave up that dream to become his true self, the original Kaneki before we knew him in part 1. And when Arima says, will you die again, there's two ways you can take this. He's like, will you die in the mental sense once again? Will you allow me to stab you through the eye sockets and pretty much fuck you up to where you reset once again? Or will you die to the point to where you might become someone new? Will you shed your skin and become something brand new, something better than you once were? And it seems like that's where the conversation is going. Arima's trying to teach Kaneki a lesson. Now, as soon as that happens and Kaneki realizes, like, Arima doesn't see me, he thinks about the conversation he had with Toka. And he's like, what he sees is the death of, his friends. Yomo, Toka, Ayato, Hinami, all of them. He sees the death of all of them. And I like the way the panel work is done here. I really like what Ishida did. He shows it to where Toka is talking to Kaneki. It's like, Kaneki, I'll see you later, okay? Remember, that was a huge moment. A big fucking moment of the last couple chapters. And then, if you look closely, you see it to where Toka looks all nice and fine. She's unbloodied and all that. But then you see blood all over her hair and face, which shows that Arima murdered her brutally. And then you zoom out and you see everybody pretty much dead. You see them all laying there and Arima's looking at them. So, yeah, that's the crazy part about this. It really just gets you when you realize that if Kaneki loses this fight, this is what will happen. And now he's starting to realize the consequences if he falls here and he just does something to protect, instead of protecting his own self, then everybody's gonna die. And that goes along with what I said multiple chapters ago. Protect yourself, learn to protect yourself before you protect others. If you can't protect yourself, you can't protect others. And for instance, if Kaneki doesn't even protect himself, that means everybody else is going to die. For instance, then, this is the image right here, summarizes the point I made a couple chapters ago. Protect yourself before you protect others. There you go. Because that is the consequences. So now he's learning the lesson. He has to make a choice. Will he just protect them? Or will he protect himself to protect them? Okay. Now we get the brief flashbacks constantly of what Heisei Sasuke, not Kaneki, but Heisei Sasuke was asking to everybody in the past about Arima, like what type of person he is. And you get to see all sorts of different characters. Like, you have to wear, an airhead, like someone thinks he's an airhead, but more than that, a genius. Some think super strong, which, this is the interpretations we all get. Some of us have thought of before. Maybe he's an airhead, maybe he's super strong. And then you have one of Arima's closest friends. I've known him for a long time, but I'm sad to say I don't know much about him. And then others say he really is the one investigator we all look up to. Pretty much Arima is their idol. He is the person they all look up to be the best investigator, the top investigator, someone that is almost perfect. And that's how everybody views him. And out of all these things, all these people talking about him, he's strangely scary, he is the strongest investigator, he's empty, mere mortals cannot hope to understand him. Seems like he'd be hard to get to know. Just all these different things that people describe Arima. At the end of the day, they still don't know what Arima is thinking. What really goes on in that mind of his. It's a bunch of broken branches, or different branches, all intertwined together, and Kaneki can't figure it out exactly what all this means. And this is perfectly summarized with the panel work here. He is called the Reaper, and every last person I asked about him says they do not understand him. And like I said, the panel work of this background behind Arima, if you look closely, you see a bunch of branches and stuff just going out behind him, and that showcases his mindset. Nobody can really understand where his mind is, or what he's currently thinking. He always has this stone cold face that you can't really see any emotions from. And that's a really cool thing about his character. Now, the next thing too is you see it to where on the other side of this, you see Heisei Sasuke, and you see it to where it's like, out in the open, you just see one tree and stuff. It shows that Kaneki's mind is out on the table. For instance, he's easy to read. And that's kind of showcased by how Arima acts throughout this chapter. He knows what Kaneki's intent is. He wants to die. And Arima realizes this. He's probably known for a very long time. And I feel like that's how Ishida symbolized this with this panel. For instance, Arima, you can't understand him, and on the left side of this panel, you see the bright sky, which shows that, Kaneki's mind is just out in the open on the table for anyone to really understand what he thinks. And this is shown quite well when you see how Toka's keyed in on this, Hinami's keyed on this, Ayato's keyed on it, because we get to see it in the chapter as well. And then we get a flashback to kind of the beginning of Tokyo Ghoul Re. You remember how at the beginning of Tokyo Ghoul Re, Arima was given a book and he was reading it. He's like, I've read this before. Remember Arima said that? You get to see when Arima gets this book. I have a book I would like to recommend to you. It's a collection of short stories. So, this is the book, pretty much one of the books, or many different books that Kaneki has lent Arima in the past. And, Kaneki, he says he doesn't understand him. Even though he was able to talk to him and all that, he's like, I still do not understand him. And yet, I think of him as my father. And this That's such a very sad panel, because, as you all know, Kaneki, he's always wanted family, and that is one of the saddest things about Heisei Sasuke. He finally got that. He got the QS squad. He got a family, pretty much, and he always wanted that growing up. That was his dream. He wanted that life, and he realized he couldn't have it. And when he says this, and yet I think of him as my father, it's such a sad way to look at this, because it's Kaneki's viewing this fight as father versus son. And it's such a sad way to view this chapter and how Kaneki actually views Arima. And now, Arima asked a question, which, once again, I've kind of briefly discussed this already in this video. Arima says to Kaneki, if I were to do this now, he puts, you know, his Quinke at Kaneki's eye socket, right, about to stab him through the head like he did in the past. He's like, if I were to do this now, would that be what you want? For instance, he's asking the question, do you want me to stab you in the eye right now and put you out of your misery, reset everything, or kill you? Do you want that right now, Kaneki? Do you want that to happen? Do you want to die? And this implies that he knows what Kaneki's always thought. And just like any parent, usually they know kind of what their child thinks, because they probably have been through that before. Maybe one point in time, Arima was in the same place as Kaneki. He wanted to die. Who knows? Maybe the father's trying to tell his son, don't go down the same path he did, or, you know, he got out of that, and he wants Kaneki to get out of that as well. Who knows? Maybe. But even then, though, Arima keys in on this. He knows about what Kaneki wants, his mindset. And he's like, would that be what you want? And you see this panel, clear panel, nothing. Just completely blank, Arima, Kaneki. And it completely summarizes the relationship between these two. And the change in Kaneki's mental state. Of how he's going to evolve. And shed his skin and become something brand new. As a rebirth. You see this to where he starts to try to get up. And Kaneki's already realized what's going on here. He knows that if he dies, everyone dies. And he instantly starts to run away to save his life. Which shows that Kaneki actually cares for his life. Kaneki even trying to move away from Arima's blade is actual character development for Kaneki. He's actually changing for the better. He's learning to protect himself. He's moving. He's getting out of the way of death itself. He's not facing it. He's not wanting to die. He's moving. And as he's struggling and running from him, and you see these field of flowers, which pretty much is death. And he's in there, he's doing anything he can. He grabs his feet that are on the ground, trying to put them back on. And you see this desperation of him saying, Hill, 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 damn it, Hill. And this right here shows he doesn't want to die. He wants to continue living. And it's such a good fucking part of this chapter, just seeing that. And Arima, actually, his expression right here when he sees Kaneki trying to run, he actually see a little bit of a smile. If you look closely at this panel, when Kaneki turns around like he's trying to run for his legs, you see a glimpse of a smile. Seriously, look at it. That slightly looks like someone that's almost about to, you know, have a little grin going on right there. That's what it looks like to me. So Arima's kind of happy with his son right now. Happy with what his son is currently doing. He's trying to live. Now, the next thing here is, as Kaneki's trying to forcefully put back on his legs, trying to heal them back, Arima, once again, stabs him in the legs and pretty much throws them back. You see how it falls backwards. And then, we get some dialogue from Arima. 645 times. 645 times I could have fatally wounded you. 645 times I decided not to. For instance, he's saying, I could have fatally wounded you 645 times, but I decided not to do that 645 times. It would take me 2 seconds to kill you. Arima's pretty much saying is, I am playing around. I'm not trying. I could kill you right now, but I am teaching you a lesson. You need to get serious. And I love this right here. Your eyes are the eyes of a dead man. The dead. The dead cannot stop me. what have you chosen? About to get into the symbolism on, 645, because I said I would. But this right here, your eyes are the eyes of a dead man. The dead. The dead can't stop me. If you were still in utter disbelief and didn't really think that Arima knew about Kaneki's mindset, you now have to admit he does. Because when he says your eyes are the eyes of a dead man, he's implying that Kaneki wants to die. He already knew he was going to die when he faced Arima. That was his mindset the entire time walking into this fight. And that's what Arima sees. He's like, your eyes look like you're already fucking dead. The dead man cannot stop me from going after your friends and killing them. That's another way to look at it too. If you're dead, you can't stop me. But you're already dead, so you can't stop me. So, that's the crazy part about this. And when he asks, what have you chosen? This instantly wraps up the father-son relationship right here. Arima is teaching Kaneki. The hard way, obviously, but he's teaching him. Arima's actually being a parent in a way. That's the crazy part about this chapter. So, we have another footstep. Classic Ishida, I've talked about this already. For some reason, Ishida loves emphasizing footsteps in panels, and we get to see this once again with a footstep when there's something dramatic about to happen or going on. Now, this is what it said too. Me, after killing you, I need but a few minutes to hunt down and slaughter the other ghouls from earlier. He's pretty much saying, I could kill you in 2 seconds. 2 seconds, Kaneki. 2 seconds. You're dead as fuck. And then I just need a couple of minutes. And I will catch up to your little friends, and I will murder every single one. You can't stop me. A dead man can't stop me. So you better stop messing around. Continue fighting for your life. Continue trying to hold on and survive, because the longer you survive, the longer it will take for me to catch up to them and kill them. 3 different ways to view this chapter. Now, 2 of these I was looking up. I was just typing 645 and I discovered this. And one of these are from a fellow Chibi on Twitter that linked me a Tumblr post picture. And I will show it on the screen for you can all see it for yourself. But I'll save the Tumblr one for last because I want to discuss the 2 ones I wanted to talk about and I was kind of looking into. So, the first one of these interpretations of the number 645 is called Angel Number 645. Now, I'll have this link in the description. You can check it for yourself. You can go through it yourself, and you can dive into it and see what all of this means. I'm not going to read the entirety of this, but I'm just going to kind of briefly go over it. But mainly the next one is the one I really want to kind of dive into, because it has a lot more meaning than this one. But this one, though, it's pretty interesting, and it does kind of go into the number 645. So, anyways, pretty much, wisdom is the pioneer sign of angel number 645. This is the God-given ability to make decisions. A decision to live or die, what Kaneki's currently in, to protect yourself or to protect others. You are very smart. Kaneki is very smart. You have been able to help a lot when asked to. He constantly goes out of his way to hurt himself to help others. You are a junior associate. You know what type of position he is in CCG. And are not free to air your own opinions. For instance, not able to express your opinions on ghouls, what Kaneki was doing in the last chapter. He doesn't want to harm ghouls. He's soft on ghouls. Your company is looking at a merger. For instance, Ogiri Tree and Kaneki merging together. It is a very big risk, but with great reward, becoming the new One-Eyed King. The contract has loopholes. You are afraid to tell the boss as you do not know what they will say. The angels are telling you to go ahead and save your company. Save your company as save his human self and his ghoul self. Merging the 2 companies pretty much in a way, is besides Ogiri Tree and Kaneki, but also merging ghouls and humans together in a way to where they can coexist, which Part 3 of Tokyo Ghoul most likely is going to focus on. So, yeah. And pretty much when you have it to where you are afraid to tell the boss as you do not know what they will say, that's pretty much Kaneki wanting to tell his boss, Arima, and he's afraid of what he will say. There you go. So that's a brief look at some more meaning on the number 645, but let's get into the next one. So the next one here is one, I'll have the picture on the screen, But this right here blew me away. Because when I found the angel number 645, this one also popped up. And I'm like, what the fuck? So, the number 645 is interpreted as rebirth. 6 is interpreted as rebirth. Number 4 is interpreted as death. And 5, the number 5 of 645 is interpreted as void. Birth and death mark the beginning and the end of the life cycle. Kaneki has constantly been in a loop, a cycle. For instance, Jason and the person before him, and then now Kaneki, pretty much, they've always been in this loop. It's a constant cycle of, you know, passing on. And then also Kaneki constantly being in this loop, too, with himself. And this right here symbolizes that. 645 is pretty much Kaneki constantly on a loop of rebirth, death, void, over and over again, just constantly happening. And this is some really cool stuff if you look at it. So let me read it, the full thing here. Birth and death marks the beginning and the end of the life cycle. After death comes oblivion, void, until the next reincarnation, rebirth. The single digits of 645 add up to 6 plus 4 plus 5 equal 15. And 1 plus 5 equal 6. Rebirth. The number 645 describes a complete life cycle of every reincarnation, physical life. So, it's kind of like what I've been talking about for a while now. Kaneki might shed his skin and be reborn as someone brand new. Someone with a new mindset on life. Someone that is willing to protect himself. And that is what we're seeing in the latest chapter. Kaneki is protecting himself. He is not just protecting others, but he's protecting himself now. So that's what this implies. He's being reborn into something. Rebirth. Now, the next thing to look at is what was posted on Twitter to me. I was given this picture on Twitter, and I'm going to give all credit to the person here in this picture. The person's name is Suzune TG from Tumblr, I'm assuming. And the person that gave me this on Twitter is Nicole right there, Hunter Hairu, in the bottom part of this picture. So, by reading 645 as Mushi Go, Ishida's intent was clearly Arima thinking Bug Go, which in contrast to the first page of the chapter means Arima telling Kaneki to please save himself and get the fuck out ASAP, which I've kind of already covered that, but still, it's another way to interpret 645. Now, however, 646, the time where Kaneki may have died finally, is of course a message of Mushi Mu, which means the bug doesn't exist anymore in the presentation. So, it's a really cool way to also view, you know, 645, but also the next number that comes after 645, and that would be the bug does not exist anymore. For instance, the bug has ceased to exist and it's something brand new. Kaneki's shedding his skin. So, yeah, interesting. All credit goes to the Tumblr post right here on this one, but still, overall, there's many ways to interpret Tokyo Ghoul, and that's, I think, the beauty of this series. You can interpret all the different things in different ways, and there's never really a clear-cut, concrete way to interpret Tokyo Ghoul. And that is why I think so many of us love this series. It's because of that alone. Because, look, 3 different ways to interpret 645. Maybe they're all correct, maybe they're all wrong. It doesn't matter. Maybe Ishida is just doing this on paper, throws it out there, and he's like, there we go. Maybe he's doing that type of shit. Who the fuck knows? It could be a hamster drawing it. So, yeah. Pretty crazy. Okay, so after the part to where, you know, the 645 is mentioned, and we have it to where Arima's giving a speech to Kaneki, he's like, me, after killing you, Kaneki, I need but a few minutes to hunt down and slaughter the other ghouls from earlier. And I promise you, I will. That is what I have chosen. And I love the look of Arima in this panel. Most likely, I'm making this thumbnail. There's a very likely possibility I'm going to color this. But I will say right now, though, is that this look Arima's giving Kaneki is like, I promise you, I made my decision. I will kill those people once I am done with you. So, I like that. It's a declaration of what Arima is capable of and what he will do if Kaneki does not fight seriously. And then, once again, the question is asked by Arima. What have you chosen? And then Kaneki asks, or says to Arima, I will stop you here, Arima. And then he gets hit right in the chin, falls back. You really are incorrigible enough. Pretty much what Arima is saying is that I can't teach you anything. You continue to make the same exact mistakes. No matter what I've done, you continue to make the same things. The reason why Arima cut him off in the middle of conversation, and he pretty much hit him right in the face underneath the chin and he fell back, is because Kaneki, when he says this line here, "I will stop you here, Arima," it's like Kaneki saying, "I don't care about my life. I will continue to stop you and hold you back until they get away." And that's why Arima says this, when he's like, "I can't teach you nothing. The time I spent on you went to waste." So Arima the entire time is trying to teach Kaneki a lesson, trying to train him and teach him to go down a different path. And he's like, "It's a waste. You continue to make the exact same mistakes." And he's like, and Kaneki's like, "I'm going to get killed." And you see him freaking out and all that. And then all of a sudden, an awakening. Kaneki finally reveals his kakuja. His full body kakuja. And Arima's Quinkei's seen better days, obviously, if you look closely. But the Quinkei, I'm underground, started getting serious, have we? So this right here means that Arima is finally getting serious too. He's actually finally prepared to have a real battle against Kaneki. This is the true battle. This is no longer a warm-up. This is no longer Arima fucking around. Arima's going all in. And he's like, started getting serious, have we? And he finally realizes what Kaneki's going to be doing now. This Quinkei was made from a kakuho. I ripped out of a ghoul when I was 19. Now, I don't know how many probably recognize which ghoul this is, but when it says Ao, this does not mean Eto. This actually means Yoshimura, Eto's father, okay? Because remember, Eto's father was a stand-in for Eto in the past and fought Arima. Remember, that happened. So this kakuho, this, Quinkei that Arima's currently using for the first time, the first person he's ever used it on, this is actually from Eto's father. And it's very funny and ironic in a way, because as you know, Kaneki got Eto's Kagane, he ate her kakuja. So it's kind of ironic. It's like daughter versus, father in a way, but also it's son versus father too. It's kind of fucked up. But anyways, moving on. Kaneki is the first person Arima's ever used this on. The first person. So that's quite the honor. So this is an unknown Quinkei. We don't know the full extent of the abilities of this thing. So it's probably going to be pretty damn powerful if it's related to Yoshimura. So yeah. And also it has, a part of V, like a V organization member in it too. Obviously. Okay, so Kaneki's kakuja. Talking about it. I don't really know what to say at this time. I believe probably the kakuja is probably still forming, and Kaneki doesn't still have his legs. So once his legs are all fixed, I think, like when they're all back together, I believe we'll get to see the true form of this. I'm willing to bet the kakuja is still moving and, progressing and changing forms into the proper shape. But at this time, though, the way it looks very fucking creepy. Like, the mask, or the face mask of it, it reminds me of the old kakuja Kaneki used to have. But it also, once again, it does kind of look like a snake or a reptile in a way. I mean, look how the shape of it is. Kind of looks like a snout of a snake. But then on the side, it looks like some form of, bird-type hand that Kaneki has going on there, which reminds me a lot of an owl. And then on the back there, I think that is a tail that's forming on the back of fucking Kaneki. I could be wrong there, but it looks like it's coming out of Kaneki's back right there. And it looks like it's talking, which I want to point that out. It is fucking talking. But you have it to where it looks like a tail, which goes along with a snake or a reptile or something, like a lizard. There you go there. So, pretty cool when it comes to that. You have it to where his kakuja is looking like somewhat of a snake, but also a cross of an owl or something. There was a Chibi that actually mentioned in the comments of the snake symbolism video I made and said that there's a possibility that instead of a snake, but it could be a dragon. So, who knows? There was a couple of Chibis that did say that in the comments. I'm not taking any credit for that, but it might actually be somewhat of a dragon shape. Look, it has a claw. I mean, like I said, I highly doubt the kakuja is completely formed all over his body yet, so we still need to see where it goes. But it does look like a claw, maybe some form of dragon, but also a tail looks like kind of like a reptile or something. Now, talking about the kakuja talking. But we kind of already assumed this is kind of what it was going to be, or how it was going to behave, because Eto's kakuja, or Kagane, was talking. We already saw this, and I've dived into that enough. I've dived into the Noro stuff, I've dived into the kakuja, the RC cells, ROS. I'm not even going to get into that, okay? I've talked about that in past videos. But his fucking kakuja's talking. It's talking to him. And it says, protect. Protect. And then Kaneki's like, I will. And he's like, you idiot. So, it's talking different things. See, look at how this says. I will, protect, and then you idiot. So, it's constantly talking. There's different parts of Kaneki talking here. And it's pretty much his mindset of how he will protect himself. Pretty cool. Now, the best thing about this, okay, this chapter overall, is how Arima's always called Kaneki Heise. He's always called him that. But then, when he says, let us begin, Kin Kaneki, Arima finally acknowledges the Kin Kaneki in front of him. He's no longer calling him a shallow form of his real self. He's calling Kaneki by his true name, Kin Kaneki. So the real match begins. Now this next part here, Eto. Eto is in a chapter. When Eto's in the chapter, shit's gonna be fucking good. And this already has me hyped up for what's gonna happen next. But Eto's sitting down and all that, and it has a zoom up. She does a zoom up on her face, and you see like some form of blood on the right side of her mouth. And I'm going to assume, I'm assuming, that Eto ate her editor. I'm assuming. That's what that implies. And it's sad because we know how Eto felt, but you can see it on Eto's face. She was really upset and sad. But she also ate that meat, which most likely didn't contain any RC cell repressants or suppressants, and she's probably going to be able to fight and get out. So it's weird if you think about it, for her to kind of set it up to where maybe Eto could actually leave. If that food actually didn't have any RC cell suppressants, that means that he actually gave Eto a way to kind of get out of the prison, which is strange. It's kind of shady right there, but we don't really know completely the mindset of Furuta, so like I said, he's a wild card. Anyways, Eto's like, interesting, you're really giving it your all, aren't you, boy? And we know Eto's talking about Kaneki, which there's a very likely possibility, since Kaneki ate the lower half of Eto and ate, like, the kakuja, there might be a way for Eto to be able to sense her other, used to be kakuja, or part of her Kagane inside of Kaneki, because it was her cells. It was her RC cells that Kaneki devoured, and maybe Eto, since she could, you know, have a detachable Kagane, which was Noro, maybe, just maybe, Eto can also know what Kaneki's doing at all times, since, you know, she's done this before. She's given people a part of her Kagane. Look what she did to Karen. Look what, you know, happened to Noro. And then, so with this right here, most likely Eto has a similar connection with Kaneki. She can, you know, kind of sense her kakuja inside of him. So, Eto's going to be making a move very soon. And right here, though, we move over to Ayato, Hinami, Banjo, and Aldo. We move over to their group, and sadness. Sadness, 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 sadness. This part of the chapter, man. There's a beautiful meetup. Banjo, Hinami, Ayato, Toka, Yomo's there. Everybody's meeting up, and it's a great family reunion, pretty much. A bunch of great characters of the series have all met up. And we get some from Toka. She pretty much says if we had stayed back for Kaneki, he wouldn't have tried to win. He would just try to protect us. So Toka implies she already knew what Kaneki was thinking the entire time. And it's sad. But then we move over to this next part. Look closely at this panel right here to the left. You see our characters crawling down the shaft. They're crawling down into the compactor. That fucking just cuts up meats. Ghouls. Just fucking cuts them up like a meat grinder. They're crawling down. Look You will see a bunch of characters going down. Look underneath that, and it says, what's wrong? You see Ayato and Hinami. They're both there. And I'm going to assume, I'm going on a limb here to say, if you look at this panel here, on the top of the shaft, you see two people up there. You got to look very closely, but you see a figure, like two figures up there. I'm willing to bet that most likely that is Ayato and Hinami at the top there. So Ayato and Hinami, at the very least, are safe. For now. But everyone else, I don't know. Because this is the thing. The compactor, the meat shredder, whatever fucking name, it turns on. And then you hear clanking sounds, shredding sounds. And Furuta pops up with a bunch of foot soldiers, a V behind him. And he's like, I thought I would just start it for a second. Oh my, how gory. Blech. I was fucking joking. Like, okay, I was half joking, but I was joking nonetheless. Ashita, what the fuck, man? What the fuck? I was joking. I didn't want to see a bunch of fucking characters getting chopped up into mincemeat and fed through a fucking little bottle to other ghouls. I don't want that shit. I didn't want that. Well, at the very least, Ayato and Hinami's safe, but still, Banjo's probably dead. Toka's probably fucking... A bunch of characters are dead. Yomo's might be dead. Just... I was joking. I was fucking joking. I seriously, I was joking when I made that part of the video. And this shit... He turns on the fucking meat grinder. I was joking. I was fucking joking. It happens. If there's one thing this confirms, Ashita, he really loves this tragedy right now. I truly believe Ashita is Furuta. For instance, Furuta is the insert character of Ashita. Ashita pretty much is Furuta, like in personality-wise. Like, Ashita's inserted himself into the manga series, it would be fucking Furuta. Furuta gets off on all this tragedy. He really does. And we can also say Furuta's Ghoul. At the very least, he is a Ghoul. We know for a fact he is. Because he took a big hit to the chest. We saw what happened to him, what Hinami did to him. So, Furuta being alive and walking, confirmed Ghoul. Confirmed fucking Ghoul. So that's about it. And I just want to say, look at the next issue. Look at the fucking next issue. Look at the next issue. It's Cheetah. Stop. 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 Next issue. The time to despair approaches. No comment. No comment. No fucking comment. I'm done. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.